We rep food here in Columbus.
Yeah, sometimes. Not pizza, though. Go ahead, Kylie. What's up?
What's
on the show this week?
The question is, how do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Ooh.
I guess we're going to jump into that one.
I get this question very, very frequently.
Yeah, you probably get this a lot more.
I do because a lot of what we talk about, especially on Amy TV and Detail Therapy, is mindset. It is a lot about mindset, and I actually just recently talked to my coaching group about the distinction between passion and purpose, because we hear the advice a lot, like find your passion and you'll never work a day in your life, or once you figure out what your passion
That's
is,
not true.
right? Once you figure out what your passion is, then it's going to be so much easier. But actually, finding your passion, first of all, when someone says, oh, you just need to find your passion, it's kind of their way of saying, like, you don't even know what you like, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah.
And secondly, your passion doesn't always have to be the thing that takes you into entrepreneurship and business. That's what your purpose is for. So what I was saying is, like, what is your calling? And when you try to envision, what is your calling? Like, what is someone calling you on the phone asking you for? Okay. So it's like, how do you live your purpose through your calling? It doesn't necessarily have to be your passion, but someone goes, oh, you're really good at this. I need to call you in for this. That's when you start to understand what you're good at and what you should do. And the clear thing there is knowing that you're good at what you do, and you need to be able to have the right people around you, the right environments, the right research, the right headspace to know, like, I'm really good at that. I just need to stick this out. And imposter syndrome is the thing that sneaks in and says, like, are you even really good at your calling? Are you really even going to live that purpose? And you have to be able to have the right wherewithal to say, okay, this is just imposter syndrome. They're going to be along for the ride. It's going to happen. Certainly, comparison culture is going to have even more imposter syndrome, because I'm seeing so many people living their lives fully in what I think, I would be good at also. And I know I am good at, but I have to keep going and I have to not quit, because I know I could be the best in the world at that. But having that conversation with yourself is so lofty. Imposter syndrome sucks, and it just takes you down. But personally, for me, if I'm dealing with imposter syndrome, which I do a lot, it's having the right voices around me that need to support me in this moment of weakness that I'm having in my own headspace. And sometimes that is coming to you and saying, like, I'm not even good at making videos. I'm not even good at speaking. I'm not even good at writing books or whatever. So that you can say, hopefully, something to the contrary. and remind me that this may be a low time. This may be a depressing time. I think I've learned a lot about myself in the last year, that even though, yes, I can go long periods of time without human interaction, actually over the last year, I think it's taken away from my mindset a lot, because it's those people that I surround myself with when I do leave the house that remind me that I'm not an imposter. And you can forget that really easily when you're just stuck in your own world.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know that I deal. That's an interesting question. I'm still trying to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I deal with. For me, it's. I think it manifests itself differently. So I'll give you a quick anecdote here, but I had a conversation with a family member of mine about just some of the plans. It was a conversation that just came up, and I was talking a little bit about, what you and I plan on doing with travel and businesses. And it was just, again, it's one of those conversations. In a previous episode, we talked about having people around you, like friends, and sometimes it's hard to explain how you live your life to certain people, because they can't comprehend necessarily the amount of freedom that we are blessed to have because we've worked or set up our lives in a certain way. And so I was talking to this family member about, hey, we're looking at a couple different areas for a new home, and they were in very different states. Like, we're traveling for your mom's retirement, and we're potentially trying to come back to Connecticut for a couple, maybe a month or so, and we might go to Italy for an extended period of time. Like all these. It wasn't just like that. It kind of came up in a conversation.
It's just that we have all these options and we're just tossing them around.
There's options, right? Yeah. Just tossing around and that's how I get excited. Not how it doesn't mean they're all going to happen, or maybe they could all happen, right? All of those things could happen. And this individual kind of said to me, like, I don't get you. I just don't understand your life. Just like that. And I was like, I thought that was kind of I thought that was actually pretty exciting. Like, those are all exciting things. Wouldn't you want to be like, wow, that's cool? And I had to quickly step back and say, did I do something? Like, I started asking myself. To me, this is imposter syndrome. I don't know if this is truly, I have no idea. This is how I feel imposter syndrome is. But then I started questioning, like, oh, wait a minute, am I doing something wrong? Like, I don't have the 9-to-5 job. I don't need to be tethered to a desk. I may have mentioned this in a previous episode. Like, my mom, she has been working from home because her job made her, or kept everyone out of the offices over the pandemic. Well, her working from home means she has to be logged into her computer, and they will...
And active.
The bosses and stuff, like, they see when the computer's active. Like, she has to be in front of it. And my mother's very like, nope, I got to follow the rules.
She's a rule follower.
But even if she did go and, like, do stuff around the house, she's not going to leave the house, right? Mm-hmm. So, whatever. But for us, like, my mom came to visit about a week ago. Don't you have to work? Well, yes, Mom, I do, but you're here, so I want to spend time with you, and I want to do this. Oh, well, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. You have to work. People have to work. And I was like, true.
Yeah, so it does kind of manifest in a way that it's like, well, who am I to have these options?
Yeah, so I started to think, I mean, like, I'll go through bouts. This will happen a couple times a year where I start to think, like, am I better off just getting a 9-to-5 job? Like, am I better? And then I start to question myself, like, wait a minute, do I really want that? No.
Yeah, because the answer to that question is, am I better off? Well, if I wanted to have, like, a life that literally everyone else understands.
If I want to live somebody else's life, just so somebody else. And what I will talk myself through is, if I'm trying to live life so that you, the viewer, or family member, or someone on the street feels better about yourself, that's not why I should be doing things.
Absolutely.
And I will say this, it's hard when it's hard, and it's great when it's great, right? But that's what I signed up for. That's what you signed up for. That's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
But the imposters, it gets real when when you're having those conversations with individuals that don't understand it, and that kind of cause you to second guess yourself. I mean, you talk me through it all the time. You're like, they're not living your life. They're not, they're working their job. That's what they like to do. Or maybe they hate their job, right? Do you want to go do that? And you'll kind of encourage me, like, hey, listen, the fact that you're able to sustain a business and employees and do this, like, that's awesome.
Right.
But sometimes you don't think it, right? Like, it's like, oh man.
And also, just to be clear, like, some people genuinely don't have your best interests. Your family genuinely just is worried about you all the time.
My family,
and literally just is like, okay, maybe you need to take it down a notch so that everything's totally safe all the time. And what they don't understand is, like, we've chosen the very unsafe path, but there's not a day that we wake up and say, like, oh, I would trade this.
And it's not even trade this. I don't, like, it's not even unsafe. It's more just so unconventional.
Yeah.
Unconventional for someone 10, 15 years ago. Forget about folks
absolutely
50 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, again, I love my mother dearly, but she's been in the same job since she was 18, 19 years old, like, got out of high school.
She's an OG employee.
And she has same job, same employer.
Well, the employer was bought a few
changed.
times.
They were bought and sold, but at the same place for
a long time.
Over 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that these days, right? So in her mindset, and again, like,
people.
I'm using my mom as an example because I know she's still going to love me even if she hears this. But it's very difficult for someone like that to understand, oh, you're sitting at the kitchen table, you're taking a call, you've got the Champions League game on and the other. Yeah, I mean, whatever. And that's just one example. There's many other ways. But sometimes when you hear that a lot, it really weighs on you. You're just like, oh man, am I doing something wrong?
And it's totally okay to have those people that check you and keep you humble. And I think that's really important. But also, if there's too much of that and you're never really exploring what's possible because of everybody else trying to keep you safe and they think that that's the absolute best interest in you, then yeah, imposter syndrome is going to overtake you for sure. You have to be willing to say, like, I know that this is right for me and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go through the hard times, because as we've talked about with the bandwagon, like, people don't jump on until it is going.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the one that's going. And then even then, when they're appreciating you, it's not, you're not going to get this big party. Like, it's just
Right.
is what it is. You figured it out. They have no idea how you figured it out, and they're just happy you're okay. That's good news. Let it be what it is. But nobody's going to hold your hand through that imposter syndrome. You've got to find the right people that will be worth following during that time, so that you can find your own way.
I like to, I know the question was more like, how do you actually manage the imposter syndrome? Mm-hmm. For me personally, I like to reflect on wins and losses, right? And you've helped me do this more, reflect more. And what the wins and losses help me understand is, like, the losses. Sometimes the L's are big. We've talked about this in other episodes. Sometimes you get smacked up and you're just like, wow, there's definitely no imposter syndrome here. Like, this is reality, right? And then the wins sometimes are so great. That's when the kind of the imposter syndrome hits. But when you look at it in the length of maybe a year or over the course of your career, you're like, okay, I've got wins, I've got losses, I manage it. This is no different than what anyone else experiences. It's just a different scale, right? Or it's a different
approach.
It's a different approach, right? Like, you have wins and losses in a regular. If I could go to work 9 to 5 and have wins and losses in my day in that job, right? Great. But for me, like, I'm going to make X amount of money and that's it, or have X amount of freedom and that's it. Or I could do what I'm doing, have maybe bigger wins and loss swings.
Yeah, huge wins, huge losses.
Exactly. But I've got hopefully more money and more freedom, more time to spend as I progress.
So you're pushing through the huge losses.
Because you're pushing through, and it builds a lot of character. It toughens your skin. It thickens the skin, because now you understand how to bounce back from those losses and how to keep creating. One thing that I stopped getting imposter syndrome over was a couple of my family members used to joke, like, "Oh, ask Vin, because he'll know how to make money out of that." Like, I've got an idea. Vin will know how to figure that out. And that's become a way for me to say, like, you know what? The fact that they're turning to me all the time because they don't know how to do that. So why I shouldn't feel, I shouldn't get that imposter feeling. I'm like, no, wait a minute. I'm helping them. There's a reason why they're coming to me, because they see that I've got my hands in a lot of things, and I enjoy that. It's more on when you really step back and look at, like, why am I having imposter syndrome? It's usually because other people are kind of making you think that way, but it's because of their own insecurities. It's because it's another person's insecurity.
Submerged yourself in an environment that's not encouraging you, like staring at everybody's highlight reel on social media.
That too, yes, 100%.
But that's such a great example of your calling. Like, people say within your family, so you don't need a huge audience, you don't need a huge network. People are starting to give you these inklings. You know how they say, like, hey, send a survey around to your 5 closest friends and ask them these questions about you. Like, what's your favorite thing about me? What's the funniest thing about me? What am I really good at? What am I kind of crappy at? Like, and just be honest about it. It's because if you really listen to the people around you, they're telling you what you're good at, or they're sending people to you to ask certain questions. Yep. When I found out what my calling was, I was just helping somebody with a really fundamentally simple social media question. And that is, like, one of the very beginning things, in addition to making my first video, that completely changed my mind about what I should be doing with my life. So I think maybe if I had to give somebody, like, a practical, how do you deal with imposter syndrome, Now, I have a really luxurious problem of if I want to know if I'm good or bad at something, I just have to go into my DMs or my social comments. But I think you could all do this. If you think no one cares what I'm doing, no one's in my comments, nobody's telling me, I don't have a community yet, go find somebody who's doing something really similar to what you want to be doing or what you are doing, and look to see how they're doing things, but also just look to see what their community is talking about and be a thought leader in their community, not pitching yourself, but being helpful. Like, are there questions in the comments? Can you answer someone's question? If you can find people where you can be their person, their thought leader, their whatever you want to be, and start to get that interaction and someone go, oh my gosh, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. I didn't know that. It's the, oh my gosh, I didn't know that moments that help us prove that we're not imposters. Because we usually will sit here and go like, oh, why are we going to make a podcast about imposter syndrome today? They could just Google it. Yes, they could. So why not be the result that shows up for them? It's that moment where someone goes, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. You go, oh, not everybody knows that. That's that special sauce. That's when you really start to figure out like, oh, I might have something here that's special to me. Yep. Now, can I be the best in the world at it? Ready, set, go.
Yeah, I don't think it ever goes away. You don't just manage it away.
No, absolutely not.
At least I've experienced. There's times where I've been feeling myself and then the imposter syndrome hits, right? Or there's times where it's just like constant imposter syndrome. You manage your way through it. I just don't think it just completely goes away. And I think if you say that, oh, I never get that, cool, then good for you. Then maybe you don't. But I know personal experience for me, for us, it happens. And we help each other through it. We support each other through it. We have supported each other. We continue to support each other. Things like words of encouragement and reflection and whatnot, like that helps a lot. And imposter syndrome to me always sounds like one of those first world problem type things, but it really is it's a mindset. And I think that being able to manage through it just makes you that much better.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
What do you think, Kylie? Did we answer that question pretty well? What do you think?
Yes. I think you did great.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Everybody's doing their thing.
Okay.
We're all just chilling.
Everybody's chilling.
Nobody's got it all figured out.
No, that's for sure.
That's my favorite thing to remind myself of. Like, nope, not everyone has it figured out. Maybe just like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He seems to have it figured out, but nobody else.
I don't think he just doesn't give up. Poop.
I'd be really interested to hear what he thinks about
maybe we'll get him on the podcast. Until next time.
If you leave us a review.
Until next time. Oh yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars. Only 5 stars.
It's like he forgot.
Well, because I've been begging them for 5 stars. It's like smash the like button.
Are you having imposter syndrome about asking for 5 stars?
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
But I know that
That's
I'm right.
Understandable. So you're right.
5 stars.
Okay. All right.
Rate and review. We'll maybe answer your question on the show.
All right.
Until next time.
See you then.